On page 274 in your book, we're starting chapter 12, talking about posting to general and subsidiary ledgers. Okay, general ledger, we know already what that is. It keeps track of all of our ledger accounts, okay? So every account that we use has an account in the general ledger, so we keep track of all the balances for all of our different accounts. Subsidiary ledgers are basically breaking it down one step further. If we were to look in our general ledger just at the accounts receivable, it would tell us the total that is owed to us, but it wouldn't tell us who owed us how much money. Or if we looked at the accounts payable, it tells us how much money we owe, but it doesn't tell us who we owe that money to. So subsidiary ledger, subsidiary means underneath, so it's the next step down. It takes the accounts payable and the accounts receivable and it breaks them down to individual accounts. So we have a separate ledger that's all of our accounts receivable, and the different accounts in there are Tom's supply, Joe's supply, whoever it might be. If it's accounts receivable, it's all the people that owe us money have their own account in this separate ledger. So we don't have to go digging into our general ledger every time. We keep everything that someone owes us separate and everything that we owe separate. Then in our regular general ledger, we still have an account called accounts receivable, and we still have an account called accounts payable. Those would just contain the totals. So in our accounts receivable ledger, we have an account for every single person who owes us money. The total of all that added up would go into our general ledger, and that'd be the balance of that account, the controlling account. We usually only need the balance of general ledger accounts when we're doing financial statements, okay? So we don't necessarily post every single transaction or every single day. Things need to get posted, but it depends on how many transactions we have. If we're super busy, we do this all the time, we're going to post quite often. If we don't have very many transactions, we're not going to post that often. But no matter what, you still need to post at the end of every month, okay? So regardless, even if you only had one entry, it still needs to be posted at the end of the month. It can be more, but it has to be at least once a month. And page 276 just walks through the process of posting. We know how to do that already, but just go through the steps here. Just read over it. On 277, it shows posting a journal special amount columns. Now, in our journal, we have several special amount columns. If it's, excuse me, if it's not the general, it's a special. That's the reason that they're there. And these special amount columns, we do not post all the items individually. Okay? So, on the last page, let's see here. Can't bring that to the front. On the last page, we post everything individually, each account. Okay? For our special amount columns, we're only posting the totals, okay? So at the end of the page, end of the month, whatever it might be, when we're ready to post, we're going to post the total of our cash debit is going to get posted to the cash column, or to the cash ledger. The total of our cash credit will get posted into the cash account in the general ledger. The total of the accounts payable debit will get posted to the general ledger, okay? So just the totals of special amount columns. And the reason that we only post the totals is because of our subsidiary ledgers here. Things are going to go into those subsidiary ledgers individually, okay? So the general ledger is what we're talking about here in 12.1, just posting to the general ledger. So totals of special amount columns, and then individual items from the general debit and credit. And then after we post, we always put the account number to where we posted it to. Now when we're posting the special account column totals, when we're posting the totals at the bottom of the page, if you look at the top of 278 here, we still do the post reference, but for the general and debit, we put a check mark. Check mark means that these numbers were all posted individually. So these totals here didn't go anywhere specifically, because all the individual numbers above them have been posted to their individual accounts. So these totals just get a check mark to show that we did it, but those total numbers didn't go anywhere. If you look right next to it in accounts receivable, these accounts receivable totals are going to get posted to the general ledger, to our accounts receivable debit, accounts receivable credit. They're going to get posted, and that's account 1130. So we put an 1130 underneath, and it goes in parentheses. Okay? So similar to what we do in the post reference column, when we're posting things from the general debit and credit, we're going to do the same thing underneath the totals for our special amount columns, just like that. And then the last thing on 278 talks about starting a new page for an account in a general ledger. So if you fill it up, basically that's the steps you got to go through. You're going to open a new page and you just bring forward, you don't have to write bring forward, you just write the word balance. You write the word balance and you bring forward whatever the ending balance was of that account. So if you ran out of room, whatever the final balance was, that's what you start the balance with on this page. So super simple. All right. What I'd like you to do is do the work together and the on your own and the application problem. And if you need to check any answers, the book is on my desk. And then we will go over it tomorrow and move on.